today's episode, I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite things to do with custom brushes, which is to save time. We're all busy people, and those of you who work as professional artists out there, or students who have a deadline, an assignment is due, there are times where you just need to crank something out, and you still have to have it look good, right? And how do you do that? It's kind of a tricky thing. Usually those two things don't go together. But with custom brushes, you can actually save a lot of time by creating the right brush for the right task. And today what I'm going to talk to you about are just a couple of ways to use custom brushes to save time in your illustrations. We're talking about things like birds and grass and foliage and clouds and windows and bricks and bubbles and chains and scales and hair and oh my gosh, it's just so much, right? So why don't we just cut right brush stamps that I've created over the years, and of course I've created thousands of them, but here are just a few that you could imagine might be useful for a certain applications. And the top left we have some blades of grass, and then to the right of that we have some sort of scratchy lines that could be used for rain or for adding texture or scratches to things. Got a cloud shape to the right, little cloud underneath that grass over here on the left. Here we got this weird kind of blocky cube thing, which I can show you what that turned into in a moment. Some foliage ideas here, some leaves, different shapes and sizes and whatnot. Really, the sky's the limit. You create the stamp, and then you generate a brush from it, and then you fiddle with the brush settings to add some variety and some dynamics to those brushes, and man, you are off to the races. It's as simple as that. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat. Thanks for joining me today. Today we have Tim is here. What's up, Tim? And Laura and RB and Steve and Afroha and Merv. And I see Z here joining us today to learn about using custom brushes. The top left, this little grass that we have here. Now, if you want to make a brush, okay, what you do is you simply draw something on your canvas, all right, and you go up to Edit, Define Brush Preset. Simple as that. And I say, all right, let's do this. We're going to call this Grassy Grass. How about that? Okay, now right off the bat, you'll see that it creates that brush, okay? But at the moment, I have nothing going on with it that's special, okay? So it's not very useful. So we have to make some adjustments to it. First thing I'm going to do is increase the spacing, okay? So separate them a little bit. Second thing I'm going to do is come in here and shape dynamics and start messing with that. Now, at the moment, if I were to set the size jitter control to pen pressure, that means that I'm going to, with lighter pressure, create smaller patches of grass, and with heavier pressure, create bigger ones. So already you've got something useful there. But I want to add to this by adding jitter. See this up here? Size jitter. I'm going to slide that up to about 50%. Okay, and that's going to just change the size randomly. Okay, anywhere between that 0 and 100% of the size of the original stamp. I'm going to increase that size a little bit so the brush isn't, you know, creating grasses so teeny tiny versus so enormous. All right, so already we're getting somewhere. That's nice. Let's go over here and change the angle to 2% change there. So it'll kind of make it bounce around a little bit. Maybe make that like a 4% change. Now this is a really handy one, roundness jitter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Photoshop that I want this original brush stamp, this shape that I've created, okay? I want it to be compressed randomly, alrighty. And that's going to be really, really handy. And over here, I can control how much compression I ultimately could want. Okay, so here's a range, anywhere from none down to a lot. Okay, so we're going to keep it somewhere around maybe like, 30-40%, something like that. Right? That's nice. And hey, why don't we finally do a little flippity flip here with the X jitter? Okay, so that means that I'm horizontally flipping that stamp randomly. How nice. Okay, we haven't even done anything else. We've just played with shape dynamics, and already we've got a brush that will create different looking blades of grass along the way, right? Now, if I think the compression that's happening there, where it gets a little flat, is too heavy, I can just increase this slider right here. All right, and that's going to control how much compression we have for roundness jitter. Alrighty. But yeah, this is definitely looking better than when we started, isn't it? Okay, well, what else can we do? Oh, lots of things, lots of things. All right, let's try some stuff out here. Let us come to dual brush. And with color burn, I'm going to be able to remove, okay, bits of the stamp at random with a separate stamp. And so I'm going to slide through here. You see I have a bunch of brushes. Holy cow, so many, so many. And I think I'll just select, what's this one here? Fur Short. That might be nice. It's a fur brush I created. And you'll automatically see that when I do this, see what's happening? It's eating away at some of the grass as I paint, okay? Now I can do some scattering in there, and I can decrease the spacing, and that's gonna make that other stamp kind of bounce around inside where I'm painting, all right? But if you really wanna see this in full effect, what you do is you turn on transfer, and now I'm gonna be able to use lighter pressure to get more or less grass. And you see with very light pressure, more of that secondary stamp, that dual brush, is going to come through. So what I'll do is I'll increase the flow and the opacity settings, okay? So that's not going to be so pronounced, right? I'll increase the spacing a little bit, bump up that scatter. And now this is what we get for our grass. Now, if I think it's still eating away at it too much, I can come over here to dual brush and I can change it to a different mode, right? If you look over here, you've got different modes like hard mix. Okay, that one's not so terribly crazy. Or I could select a different dual brush mode, maybe something like a foliage kind of a brush like that. That's kind of neat. All right, we could try that with maybe a color burn. See how we go. Kind of like that, actually. Let's reduce the size a bit, increase the scatter, and we'll increase the count. There. Look at all this variety we're getting now with this brush for painting in some grass. So what you do is you set the all these brush dynamics to do what you need to do. And by the time you got that brush ready to go, you save it as a new brush. And you know, of course, the thing I do at the end is add a little bit of color dynamics, right? Some hue jitter. Maybe at about a 9 or 10%, maybe some brightness jitter more than anything. So I'll knock that hue jitter back to about a 6, brightness jitter up at about 15. We grab our nice green color here, go a little brighter, and let's just start painting with that. And look at this. Look at what we're gonna get here. Now let's zoom in on that and take a good look, and you'll see those color dynamics in action, right? Value, okay? I mean, can you imagine how much time this would save you just to paint some grass like this? And this is just a really basic brush that we just created there with that one simple stamp, right? One of the things you can do, of course, is use 2 brushes. That's all you need, honestly, to get the amount of variation you need in those strokes to really get you hitting a home run here. Alrighty, I'm going to use a little lighter pressure as I move towards the background so we get smaller bits of grass there. Okay, just kind of fill that in. And all of a sudden, here we got a nice big chunk in the foreground. But yeah, you are in good shape now. There's our grass. Amazing, right? Amazing. What a time saver. It's like a magic trick, I have to tell you. And you know I'm a huge fan of magic. It's my big hobby on the side. If we ever see each other at a conference in the future, you know, when this COVID nightmare is over, I will bust out a card trick for you. All I gotta do is ask. Always got my cards with me. That's one of my favorite things to do. Alrighty, gang. So keep that in mind for when we meet again. Alrighty, so there's a little grass brush for you. All right, and you see how much of a time saver that can be, but that's just one example out of many, right? Because you're gonna have lots of other things to paint. You're not just painting grass all day. What else do we have here? Well, here's that little puffy cloud shape. Alrighty, let's see what we can do with that. All right, so why don't we go over here to our edit define brush preset. Okay, we'll just call this cloudy cloud. Since we had grassy grass, now we have cloudy cloud. I'm really creative with the names in case you hadn't noticed. Yeah, so there's that shape that we have, right? Now, if I come over here and I've got that brush already selected, okay? Doesn't really look like a cloud, does it? Certainly not. No, we got to do some work with that. So what do? We come over here, we increase the spacing. Step 1, right? Come over here to shape dynamics. We're going to do a little size jitter action. Okay. Maybe a touch of angle jitter. Just throw in like 3%. Roundness jitter is going to be really good for us here. Flip that X. Okay. And now let's see how we're doing. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Starting to look better, isn't it? That's looking better. And how about a little dual brush action? Got lots of clouds here I previously made. I'm going to use that color burn again. And see what that does. That looks pretty cool. Oh, I like that. I like what that's doing. Interesting. Different modes here to play with. You've got linear burn. See what that does. You've got color dodge, right? That's going to darken up all those darks. Got overlay. It's going to just come in there and break it apart. Now and then you can increase that spacing. You can increase that scatter, reduce the scatter. Try both axes there, X and Y. See what happens there. Now, of course, if you're testing clouds, best thing to do is throw a nice blue sky in there for yourselves. Okay. And then make your brush white and start to paint with it. See how we're going to go. Let's see. How's it going? That looks pretty good. Not bad. You know, with a bit more tinkering, I think we could be in a pretty good place. I'm going to go ahead and turn on pen pressure to control my size. So that's going to help a little bit. So I can have these clouds off in the distance that are a little smaller, right? I'm going to increase or decrease my spacing just a hair so they kind of bump up against each other a bit more. There we go. So I got these clouds in the distance here. And as they get closer, of course, they're going to get bigger, right? And as you know, the rule is when you look up at the sky, the clouds that are closer will be higher in your if you're looking at a sky looking straight out, okay, you have to remember that the rules of perspective apply to skies as with everything else. So, you know, you've got your vanishing point here and you're moving up and away from that. Okay, here this is your horizon line, right? So the things that are going to get larger are those that move further away from that horizon line in an upward direction. Okay, stuff to keep in mind. All right, now I'm using Photoshop 2021 here, so I can hold down that tilde key and I can erase with the same brush, right? And that's another thing you want to do, is you want to do an additive subtractive kind of a thing with the same brush, and that's going to quickly get rid of any repetitive sort of shapes that you're seeing there, right? See this? By erasing with that same brush, I'm going to be able to add that variety I want here and there. We haven't even played with opacity yet. Look at this. Let's turn on transfer. Okay, we'll knock that back. We can knock our flow down to 50%. Alrighty, because we're going to want to have a little bit more of a softer buildup of the clouds there. See that? But hey, in a couple of minutes, we're painting clouds. And like I said before, if you have two brushes that are meant to do something similar to one another but have different stamps, that's really all the variety you probably need to do a quick and dirty job of knocking in whatever it happens to be, the leaves, the foliage, the grass, the tree bark. You know, I don't know. You could be painting anything that you need to create some kind of it's a repetitive task that you've got to take care of, and you got to hurry up and get that done. Well, look at this, you know, just switch out the original brush shape stamp that you're using. Okay, so I've got this currently is my brush, right? But if I pop up to where those clouds were, if I can find them again, good golly, I got way too many brushes, right, gang? Here we go. I'll just swap out that shape for another one of my cloud shapes, like this bad boy right here. I'm painting with a completely different cloud brush, same opacity settings, right? Same size, jitter settings, yada, yada, yada. Go ahead and hold down that tilde key and erase a bunch of that right there. Make it a little bit smaller. Punch a few holes in there. And then, you know, go ahead, just grab your smudge tool and start smudging away the bottoms of some of those. Like this, I'm smudging. Smudge, smudge, smudge. A little bit of smudgy action to kind of blend some of that together. Right? I know I'm doing a quick and dirty job here, but hopefully you get the idea, right? Alrighty. Fun! Now, see, the problem is I'm going to get carried away. I'm going to want to smudge everything and have too much fun with it. That's the problem here. I'm going to start wanting to actually paint a sky. And then we're going to get sucked into another one of my painting diversions here. We don't want to do that. But you get the idea, right, folks? Pretty powerful stuff. Fast, easy. There's another nice cloud shape I could use, right? Monolith. What do we do with that? Well, you know, lots of stuff. Why don't we go ahead and make a brush out of that? Edit, define, brush preset. There we go. Blocky block. Let's come over to our shape dynamics, size jitter, right away. That's kind of interesting. Okay. We're going to do some roundness jitter. Okay. Increase that spacing. And what do we have? Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Okay. You know what? You need to paint Superman's Fortress of Solitude, right? You just go ahead and say have a darker background. Come in there and just kind of knock these in like that. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. Right? That's pretty fun. What about if we add a texture to this? Let's go ahead and use a grainy texture. Let's see, I got a canvas there. Here's a nice one I made a while back. Just throw in some texture. Ooh, I like that. Okay, check it out. So we'll get rid of these. And now we've got this texture here. We'll zoom in so you can see this plain as day. See that? Nice texture in there. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. Throw in some dual brush action, you know, break it apart. Use that cloud that I was using a moment ago, okay? See what that does. Ooh, cool. Let's do that in black so you can see that. See what it's doing now? Holy cow. What kinds of stuff you could do with that? That is super neat. Maybe you just have to make some cool kind of textured background for something. You have to suggest that there are these blocky bits of stone off in the distance, right? Just go ahead and paint some of this in, grab some white, come over the top of it, right? You just kind of overlap here and there. Just create some kind of cool background like this, back and forth, back and forth. Then go ahead and hold down that tilde key. Or if you're in a previous version of Photoshop, remember what you do is you come to mode for your brush and switch it to clear, right? Pop up, come over here, erase, 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 erase. You can take that texture, you can set it to hard mix, okay? And that's gonna really get you a different look. Let me just increase that depth a bit, there we go. Like that. That's cool. Really nice off in the distance there, just suggesting some bits and pieces of stuff, okay? So we're just getting funky with it now. All right, what else do we have? Well, we haven't talked about foliage, but come on. Foliage is one of those obvious ones, but you say, I don't want that much repetition. Like I said, 2 brushes are all you usually need, because the combination of all of the dynamics and changes that you make to each of those brushes and how they behave with your stylus will be enough to create enough variation to trick the eye, to add enough interest, and really get the job done. Alrighty, so just gonna call up a couple of brushes that are nice examples of what you can do with foliage brushes. And these are from the concept brush set. For those of you who have a Photoshop subscription or a Fresco subscription, Adobe CC, you know that you can come up here to the top where you need to be to download all those brushes for yourself. It says here, sign in to download. You just sign in, and you're gonna get this massive list of 1,800, 1,900 brushes to play with. So that is really, really great. So don't forget about that resource. And one of those brush sets that you can download is the concept brush set. So I'm just going to jump down here to Kyle brushes, and I believe I have it loaded right here. Kyle concept. Okay, and we're gonna just move on down. By the way, check out these clouds. Clouds everywhere you look in here. You got big cloud brushes in that same brush set. And those have really been designed to just work right out of the box and give you some great stuff. Okay, so check them out. All right, let's come down to Foliage. Here we go. Bunch of these. You got Foliage Pro 1, 2, 3, and 3 with a variation of color, and so on, and so on, and so on. But here, let's just take a look at how this one works. So this is Foliage Pro 1. And you'll notice that there's no repetition to speak of with this brush. The reason for that is we're using dual brush in a really effective way here. If I just go to the settings, you'll see that dual brush is set to darken, okay? And because my original stamp is not 100% black, we're able to basically eliminate a lot of what's happening here in the combination with the 2 brushes there. It's basically just erasing away and cutting out bits of the original stamp, which has its own variety stuff going on in there. Alrighty, so if I just hide this for a moment, this is really handy if you're going to do a little tree action, right? So we've got our little trunk, and here's a nice little branch. Remember that tree branches get thinner, they don't get fatter. Okay, and of course me drawing with a lasso tool is a terrible way to try and demonstrate this, but you know, we don't have a lot of time, so this is what's it's going to be what it is. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be a little clunky here and there, but that's okay. Alrighty. See, like right there I messed up, but that's okay. So what do we want to do? We want to add some quick foliage here. Fill that. All I have to do is just kind of come in here and just beep, beep, beep. This is going to respond to pen tilt. You may notice that the brush stamp, if I come over here, you'll see this. I'm rotating my wrist, and the brush stamp is rotating accordingly. Okay, changing direction accordingly. So I can just kind of place this foliage in the direction that I want. It's going to have all those nice little breaking up bits. It's all going to just break apart. And so that gives me a certain style without what would be considered, you know, too repetitive a look, right? And I can come over here and I can rotate that brush like this because I'm a lefty. So I love to go and change the angle sometimes, even though it's going to respond to tilt, I don't want to like twist my wrist around in some funny way. Now, if you have like the Wacom Art Pen, which has barrel rotation, you don't even have to think about that. You just rotate the barrel. Isn't that a song? Rotate the barrel. No, it's roll out the barrel. Sorry, but anyway. I've tried that Wacom Art Pen. It's pretty, you know, give it a go and see what you got. All right, so there you go. Phenomenal. So fast, so easy. But what else do we have here? Got Foliage Pro 2. That'll do this for you. Right, so off in the distance, you've got a few more little trees. Just add some bits and pieces here. Right, maybe design your shapes first. Right, and then you come in with a regular brush or whatever to design the trunk of the tree. Make all that work. And again, this is me being really lazy, really zippy. So whatever I draw here is probably not gonna look great. But you see that? Look at that, it's off in the distance there. Just chilling, okay? There's another one. So how do we make these? Well, same as before, okay? I'm taking advantage of dual brush, right? And I'm using shapes that are similar. So for the dual brush, for the parts that are being eliminated, right, as we go, I'm using another leaf shape, okay? This one is set to darken as well. Depends on, you know, the way you want it to function. If I set that, more of a nice job of removing pixels from the equation. We have some scattering built in. We didn't even touch scattering for the other brushes. We could have, but we didn't even have to, right? Be good for some foliage-y kind of things. Shape dynamics, same as before. Remember, we're playing with size jitter and size control. In this instance, I'm not using a control for the diameter, but if I did, I would just have a smaller bunch of leaves, okay, with less pressure, and larger ones with more pressure, okay? All right, what else do we have? What kind of goodies do we have in here? You got Foliage 3 Color. This is taking advantage of color dynamics. That's all that means. If you see the word color in one of the brushes, or CD, which stands for color dynamics, then you know you've got some nice color dynamics happening there, right? Same brush, color dynamics built in. Anyway, bunch of these. Some of them look like this. Imagine just having a little field and you just pop a few of these in there. Okay, so remember that grass brush we created earlier? Well, this is what I'm saying about the 2-brush rule, okay? You would go ahead, paint the grass. In fact, I could grab a little brush here that I've got some grass brushes in here. Let's try this fast grass brush here. All right, we put some grass in. All right, there we go. In the foreground, we get a little bigger. Okay, so got some grass, and then we come back down to that foliage brush, Pro 6, right? And let's get a slightly lighter color, and just here and there, just pepper it with a few of these little guys, right? Temporarily call up my eyedropper tool, little additive and subtractive stuff, but that's all you need, okay? You've got a little bit of variety in there now, and you could go to town with this. You know, you can continue bouncing back and forth with those 2 brushes to create what you want. You can have like a little bit of detail with the grass using this fast grass brush, for example. It's a little bit big there, but for the foreground I could do that, and I could adjust those color dynamics so that it looks a little better. You know, if you're a concept artist, somebody who's got to do this kind of stuff day in and day out, where you've got a lot of fast stuff to paint, and a lot of what you're painting, this isn't the focal point. The grass, the detail in the grass itself is not the focal point of the image, but it's an important part of the image. This is the kind of stuff that'd be helpful for you, is to just grab one of these brushes, right? Paint in the bulk of whatever it is you got to do in that area. And then go ahead and add little odds and ends here, little bits of detail on top of it, right? Just to keep it fresh. Pop, 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 pop. All right. here and there. Makes sense? Pausing for questions now. I've been rambling a long time. Let's see what we got here. Fast grass sounds like a lot of lawn mowing. Nice. Hi, McCorn. What's up? Nora's here. Hello, hello. Alrighty. Questions. I've seen things like character builders, body parts. Haven't seen any Kyle ones. Character builders. No, I haven't made any of those really. What's up, Paco? Breakdancing moves. Whoever told you I can breakdance? It's a lie. I don't believe it. Okay. Let's see. Wish we could use. I'm getting. Sig, you're talking about an iPad. Just download Adobe Fresco. It's free. Tons of brushes in there. They're fantastic. All right. I'm going to keep moving on. Okay, gang? So, let's do it. We've talked about multiple things here. One of the things I mentioned up front was birds. And the reason I mentioned birds is because it's one of those things where a lot of times you kind of throw in some birds in the distance or something like that when you're doing a little concept art or a little piece where they're not the focal point, but they're there. They add a little personality. They add a little interest in the background. So how would you do that? Well, again, same kind of deal. You would make yourself a stamp, okay? So here's one shape, and maybe I just add another shape like that, okay? I fill them with black. I did the Option Delete. That's fill with foreground color. If you're on a PC, Alt Delete. Fill with foreground color. Okay, and I just say Edit, Define Brush Preset. Let's go with our regular naming convention here. Birdie birds. So we go, now we have that brush, and what are we going to do? We're going to jump over to our brush settings, and we're going to go to Shape Dynamics. First, let's increase that spacing, right? Let's come over here and let's do a little bit of scattering. We haven't done that yet. Okay, I'm going to scatter these guys. Like so. Shape dynamics, let's go some angle jitter there. Okay, a bit of roundness jitter. Let's do a little flip X action. Size jitter. And there, I'm painting birds. Okay, just like that. Simple as can be. You want to control it with pen pressure? Sure, why not? Go ahead. Less pressure, and then up front here, get some bigger ones, whatever. You want to do a little Alfred Hitchcock action, then just go ahead and let's go ahead and add some blood. Okay. There. Okay. Ah, horror, horror, horror. You see how easy that was? Amazing, right? Hey, remember what I said. Go ahead and use some dual brush in there to knock stuff out. You want to knock stuff out? Right? You don't want it to be all these solid shapes. Got several options there. You can use texture and dual brush. Come into texture, we use that same one we used before, right? Go ahead and just turn on depth. Could also use hard mix. Okay, that's going to help me out. Bump up that contrast. Let's see if that's working. Nope, I'm going to have to just do a depth jitter on this with height. There we go. Pretty cool. That's going to change things up a little bit. Come in here to your dual brush and find an interesting shape like this guy right here. Okay, this is a brush I made for glass shards called Glass Break. And see what that does? Just going to break in there and interrupt a lot of those shapes. You can turn off that texture if you find it's not helping you out. And just go ahead and pepper the sky with birds. I'm going to take that shape roundness jitter and I'm going to increase the range of jitter we can get there so I get some really flat shapes in there as well. Coming out of the castle. okay? They don't even have to be birds, it could be bats. So, makes sense? See how fast we did that? Pretty fun, right? Another tedious thing you gotta handle sometimes is like fur on an animal's scales or things like that. Go ahead and make your life easy and create brushes for that purpose, and you'll be in good shape. How would you do that for fur, for example? Well, let's see, I'd probably grab a bristle brush, or a bristle brush, and let's see what we got here. I'm gonna come into the mega pack. Remember, gang, I say this all the time, it's very important. The mega pack is not what it sounds like. I know the name is confusing. If you go and you download the mega pack, you are getting about 400 totally unique brushes. They are not a collection of other brush sets that you can download. They are their own separate set, okay? A lot of people download the mega pack and they say, yay, I've got all the brushes. Not even close, you're only scratching the surface. You have about 400 out of a library of about 1,900 brushes available to you. So don't just download the mega pack and think you've got everything. You don't. All right, now let's go into the paint box here in the mega pack, and we'll grab something bristly. See what we got here. This one says Bristle 06 Hair and Grass. See what that does, right? So a brush like this could really help you out when you've got to paint some hair. Could it not? It makes a big difference to have the right tools for the job. So maybe I have to paint some long, flowing, kind of wavy, straight or wavy hair, whatever. And so I would just be able to do this. Now let's use some color, right? Grab a nice dark color here. So I would get my basic shape painted, okay? Like this, and then I would just come in a little lighter, move over some areas like that. We're gonna get some lighter areas because the light is hitting that part of the hair, right? And then maybe we just pop up even for the occasional highlight here and there. Whatever. Okay. And as you know, if you want to smudge, that's always a wonderful thing. Go ahead and grab your smudge tool. Change the shape of your smudge tool to a bristly shape. Which if I were to do, you know, and then just come in here and blend some of that together so it's not so crisp and so sharp, right? But yeah. Having the right brush is going to make all that so much easier for me. Okay, so how would you make that for yourself? Well, you can see here what the stamp looks like for this brush, and I'll just go ahead and tap it on the canvas here. Hang on. Turn everything off for a moment so you can see just what it looks like by itself. That's all it is, a bunch of dots in a circle. Okay, that's one way you could do it. And then the way I would modify it to suit my needs would be, of course, to use shape dynamics for controlling how big it is and so on. There's no angle jitter in this case because I want each bristle to follow its own path and be separate in this instance. But if you pop over here to those concept brushes again, you're going to see that we have some other options for you. For hair and fur. So let's go ahead and do that. I think I'll come to fur, let's see. So here you have fur, animal, the fur of the animal. Alrighty. And that'll follow the direction of my stylus, okay? And you see how you can build that up really quickly? So that's a huge time saver right there. You have things like fur animal right, of course, which does the opposite. You move from right to left. Okay. You got fur animal left more, which just means it's heavier. Okay, so you're going to get a denser fur much faster. Look at the stamp for that brush. Can you see that as I just hold it there? If we get rid of all of our settings for a moment, you'll be able to just see what that shape is. So just by painting that one shape, which is kind of like a patch of fur, I can turn it into a brush, and then I can use it really quickly to do something that might otherwise take me a really long time. Okay, let's go back here and see what else we have in this list. Because we're going to go to the hair brushes. So, where did I put those things? They're in here somewhere. Sir Harry is what I called them. Okay, I was trying to be clever. So you have these Sir Harry brushes. So just looking at the stamp, you can see we have a wavy brush here, right? And that's what that does. So you want some wavy hairs, you can paint with this. By the way, most of these have color dynamics turned on, right? So if I were to do some blue haired character, it's going to be a little bit of color dynamics turned on right there. All right. But it's very subtle. We don't want to go crazy with that. Sir Harry 2. Okay, more wavy hairs. Like that. Very, very convenient. Sir Harry 3 is short hairs. Look at this. You can just do this. So if you have a little kitty cat, drawing that kitty cat, and you just need to throw some hair on there. Look at that. So easy. So easy. Maybe that cat has some black stripes. So just go ahead and paint the stripes on the cat like that. Same brush, right? And it's going to follow that flow so that you can stick with the theme. Keep it looking really natural. Up, 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 up. Isn't that fun? All right, now I did mention, of course, scales, right? And this is some more hair, but it's like really sharp. If you want to do just sharp definition for the hair, you can do this. So you just follow the direction of the contours of whatever it is that you're painting. All right. I mentioned scales. Nobody wants to paint scales, right? So why not just make your life easy and go ahead and make a brush for it? I believe I have some scales in here, but I need to double check. Let's see here. I might have called them something else, like dragon scales or something like that. I can't remember anymore. Here we go, dragon scales. Yeah, so these are like kind of cartoony ones. See that? You just kind of paint in the direction you want to go, and you've got your scales. But if you wanted to do something more rendered looking, how would you do it? Well, you'd of course just paint a single scale for yourself if you want to paint in smaller bits, or you would paint a small collection of those scales, and you would want to use a bit of transparency in the stamp that you design. So when you paint with it, you can overlay different brush strokes and have it all kind of blend and feel good together. So how would I do that? Well, let's just see if I can make a go of it here. All right. I'll go ahead and go to my brushes, and I'll select something simple and painterly. In the Mega Pack, I should be able to find something. Or I might actually just go ahead and draw it. That might be the best way for me to do it. In which case, I'll use the old animator pencil here. So just as a quick demonstration. So this might be the scale. I'd want to have it darker towards the end, and then lighter as we go here. Okay, And then I would just kind of blend all this together. And that could be a sort of a scale shape. And if I want to have some texture to it or something, I could go ahead and grab a spatter brush of some kind. You know, in the ink box you have the spatter punk brush. Here it is. So I just add like a little bit of texture there, erase what I don't need. Grab a little lighter color, a little bit more spatter, erase what I don't need. Whoops. There we go. And then soften the rest of this business right here. Just kind of blend that away. All right, so that could be my scale shape or something, right? And I don't know how you want to do it. You might want a little highlight or something there. Okay, it doesn't matter. But I just say edit again, and I'm actually going to rotate it because I want this to follow the direction of my brush. And so one of the secrets is to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. If you have a vertical stamp like this, you want it facing to the right, and you go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. Let's say Scaly Scale. Okay, and let's just come over here to Brush Settings, and we're going to tell it we want it to follow our direction. Okay, we want to space it out. Okay, so there's a little overlap. And that's what we're talking about right there. Okay, see that? Now, we haven't added any texture. We could totally do that. We could use texture with pen pressure. Right? That might look nice. We can do that trick we had before with shape dynamics where we flip our Y jitter in this case. There we go. Okay, because we did rotate the brush. And we can have those scales overlap. If you want them to be totally opaque, you can throw in a dual brush mode like hard mix and then select something that's going to do a nice bit of breaking things up like that. And there's some cool like little details for your scaly animal, whatever it happens to be. Okay. So much you can do here. I'm gonna turn, if you turn off the texture, and then we go to solid black like this, and then I'm gonna turn on transfer with our pen pressure. Knock that down really light. Then I can build up really textured scales like this. See that? Those are super textural. All this variety I'm getting from one single brush stamp and then playing with dual brush and texture settings. Right? Imagine just taking whatever it is you've drawn. You have the tail of a dragon or something. Okay, so I've just got this tail here. Size my brush down a bit. But imagine just coming along, following the direction of that tail, right? And going ahead and just being like, all right, done. Send it off to the client. And here, let's just step back for half a second because we didn't even use any color. We're just drawing in black and white. But, you know, we haven't even played with color dynamics. Go ahead and mess up the color dynamics a little bit. Okay? Then grab your scaly, cool green color, whatever it happens to be, and come in there and do this. Look at that beautiful variety of greens I'm getting there with every instance of that stamp. I'll come over it again and just continue to paint with that like this. Wonderful. So fun. So fun. Look at that. Okay. Gosh, I hope this stuff is inspiring you to try this yourselves to make some cool brushes like this. There's just so much you can do. You know, I love this kind of stuff. It's so fun, so fun. In fact, I like this brush so much, I have to be honest. This kind of became a happy little accident that this worked out the way it did, that I'm gonna save it. How do you do that? Go to your brushes, okay? Little plus sign down here, okay? Scaly bits. Done. There, now I've got that brush. Okay, I want to keep that one. That's a fun one. Hey, we got like 2 minutes left. Why don't I just show you something really handy, which is this. Go ahead, grab your rectangular marquee, okay? Fill in a little bit. Go ahead and knock out some part of it like that. Okay, and then we just fill in another. I'll just grab this piece right here and just duplicate it, slide it over this way. And then I'm gonna knock out part of that. Okay. And this is gonna be define brush preset. This is gonna be a window brush test. Okay, so we just come over here and we increase our spacing to whatever we want for our windows, and just start painting in windows for some building that we're doing. Okay, look how fast that is. Now you want to map it to the perspective of something. Don't worry about it. Go ahead and make your windows, right? I just grab this, hold down Option, and then I'm going to Shift and just do this a couple times. Okay, I'm just duplicating it. But let's imagine that over here on the right I've got this building and it looks like this. Okay, boom, boom. I messed up, hang on. We go down, we go over, we go over, we go across, we go up. I'm trying to like fake perspective here in like 2 seconds, so bear with me. And we're gonna have on this side right here, that's where we want to put our windows. Okay, so we use a lighter color there. I locked transparency there, by the way, just so you know what I was doing. Grab these. I'm going to make them white. You can't see them right now. That's okay. Slide them over this way. And I'm just going to hold down the Command key and I'm going to free transform these to fit onto that building in perspective. Okay, see how fast that is? How much time that's gonna save you? Folks, so much you can do. Too much you can do. I gotta get out of here. I hope you enjoyed this. Watch it back. It's gonna be on replay, so everybody take care of each other. Stay safe out there. Remember to be kind, and I'll say ciao for now.